Chapter 2. The Naming of the Tasks. Tarzan started from his chair. The chamber was utterly silent. King Smoit, about to say something, remained open-mouthed. Only King Morgant showed no sign of amazement. He sat motionless, eyes hooded, a curious expression on his face. "There is no other way," said Gwydion. "While the Cauldron-born cannot be slain, we must prevent their number from growing. Between the power of Anuvin and our own strength, the balance is too fine." As he gathers fresh warriors to him, Aeron reaches his hands closer to our throats. Nor do I forget the living, foully murdered and doomed to bondage even more foul. "Until this day," Gwydion continued, "only the High King Math and a few others have known what has been in my mind. Now that you have all heard, you are free to go or stay as it pleases you. Should you choose to return to your cantrips, I will not deem your courage less." "But I will," shouted Smoit. "Any way-blooded pudding guts who fears to stand with you will have me to deal with." "Smoit, my friend," replied Gwydion firmly but with affection, "this is a choice to be made without persuasion from you." No one stirred. Gwydion looked around and then nodded with satisfaction. "You do not disappoint me," he said. "I had counted on each of you for tasks which will be clear later." Tarzan's excitement drowned out his fear of the Cauldron-born. It was all he could do to swallow his impatience and not ask Gwydion then and there what his task would be. For once he wisely held his tongue. Instead it was Fluter who leapt to his feet. "Of course!" cried the bard. "I saw the whole thing immediately. You'll need warriors, naturally, to fetch out that disgusting cauldron, but you'll need a bard to compose the heroic chants of victory. I accept! Delighted!" "I choose you," Gwydion said, not unkindly, "more for your sword than your harp." "How's that?" asked Fluter, his brow wrinkled in disappointment. "Oh, I see," he added, brightening. "Yes, well, I don't deny a certain reputation along those lines. A flam is always valiant. I've slashed my way through thousands," he glanced uneasily at the harp. "Well, shall we say numerous enemies." "I hope you will all be as eager to accomplish your tasks once they are set out," said Gwydion, drawing a sheet of parchment from his jacket and spreading it on the table. "We meet at Caer Dallben not only for safety," he went on. "Dallben is the most powerful enchanter in Prydain, and here we are under his protection. Caer Dallben is the one place Aeron dares not attack, but it is also the most suitable to begin our journey to Anuvin." With a finger he traced the direction northwest from the little farm. "Great Avern is shallow at this season," he said, "and may be crossed without difficulty. Once across, it is an easy progress through the Canter of Cafador, realm of King Smoit, to the forest of Idris lying south of Anuvin. From there, we can go quickly to Dark Gate." Tarzan caught his breath. Like all the company, he had heard of Dark Gate, the twin mountains guarding the southern approach to the Land of Death. Though not as mighty as Mount Dragon at the north of Anuvin, Dark Gate was treacherous, with its sharp crags and hidden drops. "It is a difficult passage," Gwydion continued, "but the least guarded, as Cole, son of Colfrur, will tell you." Cole rose to his feet. The old warrior, with his shining bald head and huge hands, looked as if he would prefer battle to discoursing in council. Nevertheless, he grinned broadly at the company and began to speak. "We are going, as you might say, through Aeron's back door. The cauldron stands on a platform in the Hall of Warriors, which is just beyond the Dark Gate, as I well remember. The entrance to the hall is guarded, but there is a real portal, heavily bolted. One man might open it to others if, like Dolly, he could move unseen." "I told you I wouldn't like it," Dolly muttered to Tarzan. "This business of turning invisible, gift, a curse. Look where it leads." The dwarf snorted irritably but made no further protest. "It's a bold plan," Gwydion said, "but with bold companions it can succeed. At Dark Gate we shall divide into 3 bands. The first shall number Dolly of the Fair Folk, Cole, son of Colfrur, Fluter Flam, son of Godo, and myself. With us will be 6 of King Morgant's strongest and most valiant warriors. Dolly, invisible, will enter first to draw the bolts and tell us how Aeron's guards are posted. Then we shall breach the portal and seize the cauldron. At the same time, on my signal, The second band of King Morgant and his horsemen will attack Dark Gate, seemingly in great strength, to sow confusion and to draw away as many of Aeron's forces as possible. King Morgant nodded and for the first time spoke. His voice, though ice-edged, was measured and courteous. I rejoice that we at last decide to strike directly against Aeron. I myself would have undertaken to do so long before this, but I was bound to await the command of Lord Gwydion. But now I say this, continued Morgant. While your plan is sound, the path you choose is not suitable for the quick retreat should Aeron pursue you. There is no shorter way to Caer Dallben, Gwydion answered, and here is where the cauldron must be brought. We accept the risk. However, if we are too sharply pressed, we shall take refuge at Caer Cadarn, stronghold of King Smoit. To this end, I ask Smoit to stand ready with all his warriors near the forest of Idris. What? Roared Smoit. Keep me from Anuvin? He struck the table with his fist. Do you leave me sucking my thumbs? Let Morgant, that black-bearded, cold-blooded, slippery-scaled pike, play rear guard. Morgant gave no sign of having heard Smoit's outburst. Gwydion shook his head. Our success depends on surprise and swift movement, not numbers. You, Smoit, must be our firm support should our plans go awry. Your task is no less important. The third band will await us near Dark Gate to guard our pack animals, secure our retreat, and to serve as the need demands. They will be Adion, son of Taliesin, Taran of Caer Dallben, and Eladir, son of Penlar-So. Eladir's voice rose quickly and angrily. Why must I be held back? Am I no better than a pig boy? He is untried, a green apple. Untried? Taran shouted, springing to his feet. I have stood against the Cauldron-born with Gwydion himself. Have you been better tried, Prince Patchcloak? Eladir's hand flew to his sword. I am a son of Penlar-So and swallow no insults from... Silence! Commanded Gwydion. In this venture, the courage of an assistant pig-keeper weighs as much as that of a prince. I warn you, Eladir, curb your temper or leave this council. And you, Gwydion added, turning to Taran, you have repaid anger with a childish insult. I had thought better of you. Moreover, both of you shall obey Adion in my absence. Taran flushed and sat down. Eladir, too, took his place again, his face stark and brooding. Let us end our meeting, said Gwydion. I shall speak with each of you later and at more length. I now have matters to discuss with Cole. At dawn tomorrow, be ready to ride for Anuvin. As the company began leaving the chamber, Taran stepped in beside Eladir and held out his hand. In this task we must not be enemies. Speak for yourself, Eladir answered. I have no wish to serve with an insolent pig boy. I am a king's son. Whose son are you? So you have stood against the Cauldron-born, he scoffed. And with Gwydion, you lost no chance to make that known. You boast of your name, Taran replied. I take pride in my comrades. Your friendship with Gwydion is no shield to me, said Eladir. Let him favor you all he chooses. But hear me well. In my company you will take your own part. I shall take my own part, Taran said, his anger rising. See that you take yours as boldly as you speak. Adion had come up beside them. Gently, friends, he laughed. I had thought the battle was against Aeron, not among ourselves. He spoke quietly, but his voice held a tone of command as he turned his glance from Taran to Eladir. We hold each other's lives in our open hands, not in clenched fists. Taran bowed his head. Eladir, drawing his mended cloak about him, stalked from the chamber without a word. As Taran was about to follow Adion, Dallben called him back. You're an excellent pair of hot bloods, the enchanter remarked. I have been trying to decide which of you is the more muddled. It is not easy. He yawned. I shall have to meditate on it. Eladir spoke the truth, Taran said bitterly. Whose son am I? I have no name but the one you gave me. Eladir is a prince. Prince He may be, said Dalbin, yet perhaps not so fortunate as you. He is the youngest son of old Penlaw-So of the northern lands. His elder brothers have inherited what little there was of family fortune, and even that is gone. Ellidyr has only his name and his sword, though I admit he uses them both with something less than wisdom. However, Dalbin went on, these things have a way of righting themselves. Oh, before I forget. His robe flapping around his spindly legs, Dalbin made his way to a huge chest, unlocked it with an ancient key, and raised the lid. He bent and rummaged inside. I confess to a certain number of regrets and misgivings, he said, which could not possibly interest you, so I shall not burden you with them. On the other hand, here is something I'm sure will interest you, and burden you too, for the matter of that. Dalbin straightened and turned. In his hands he held a sword. Taran's heart leapt. He grasped the weapon eagerly, his hands trembling so that he nearly dropped it. Scabbard and hilt bore no ornament. The craftsmanship lay in its proportion and balance. Though of great age, its metal shone clear and untarnished, and its very plainness had the beauty of true nobility. Taran bowed low before Dalbin and stammered thanks. Dalbin shook his head. Whether you should thank me or not, he said, remains to be seen. Use it wisely, he added. I only hope you will have cause not to use it at all. What are its powers? Taran asked, his eyes sparkling. Tell me now, so that its powers? Dalbin answered with a sad smile. My dear boy, this is a bit of metal, hammered into a rather unattractive shape. It could better have been a pruning hook or a plough iron. Its powers, like all weapons, only those held by him who wields it. What yours may be, I can in no wise say. We shall make our farewells now, Dalbin said, putting a hand on Taran's shoulder. Taran saw for the first time how ancient was the enchanter's face, and how careworn. I prefer to see none of you before you leave, Dalbin went on. Such partings are one thing I would spare myself. Besides, later your head will be filled with other concerns, and you will forget everything I might tell you. Be off and see if you can persuade the Princess Islandry to gird you with that sword. Now that you have it, he sighed, I suppose you might just as well observe the formalities. Islandry was putting away earthen bowls and dishes when Taran hurried into the scullery. Look, he cried, Dalbin gave me this. Gird it on me. If you please, say you will. I want you to be the one to do it. Islandry turned to him in surprise. Yes, of course, she said, blushing. If you really... I do, cried Taran. After all, he added, you're the only girl in Caer Dalbin. So that's it, Islandry retorted. I knew there was something wrong when you started being so polite. Very well, Taran of Caer Dalbin, if that's your only reason, you can go find someone else, and I don't care how long it takes you, but the longer the better. She tossed her head and began furiously drying a bowl. Now what's wrong? Asked Taran, puzzled. I said please, didn't I? Do gird it on me, he urged. I promised to tell you what happened in the council. I don't want to know, answered Islandry. I couldn't be less interested. What happened? Oh, here, give me that thing. Deftly, she buckled the leather belt around Taran's waist. Don't think I'm going through all the ceremonies and speeches about being brave and invincible, said Islandry. To begin with, I don't think they apply to assistant pig keepers, and besides, I don't know them. There, she said, stepping back. I must admit, she added, it does look rather well on you. Taran drew the blade and held it aloft. Yes, he cried, this is a weapon for a man and a warrior. What a twerp. Enough of that, cried Islandry, stamping her foot impatiently. What about the council? We're setting out for Anuvin, Taran whispered excitedly, at dawn, to wrest the cauldron from Aeron himself. The cauldron he uses to... Why didn't you say so right away? Islandry cried. I won't have half enough time to get my things ready. How long will we be gone? I must ask Dalbin for a sword, too. Do you think I'll need... No, Taran interrupted. You don't understand. This is a task for warriors. We can't be burdened with a girl. When I said we, I meant... What? Shrieked Islandry. And all this, why you let me think that... Taran of Caer Dalbin, you make me angrier than anyone I've ever met. Warrior indeed. I don't care if you have 100 swords. Underneath it all, you're an assistant pig keeper, and if Gwydion's willing to take you, there's no reason he shouldn't take me. Oh, get out of my scullery! With a cry, Eilemy seized a dish. Taran hunched his shoulders and fled, while earthenware shattered behind him. Yet another chapter of Taran being a twerp.